Good day. I'm Joseph P. Day, your Circuit Court Clerk of Nashville and Davidson County, and I'm excited to bring you another episode of Conversations with the Clerk. You know, I work with 19 judges across all of our offices, and today we have our 3rd and 4th Circuit judges who solely focus on domestic matters here in Davidson County. I want to thank Judge Phillip Robinson, our 3rd Circuit judge, for being here today, and also I want to thank Judge Stephanie Williams, our 4th Circuit judge, for being here today to enlighten you about their courts and specifically information to educate you, okay? Now, Judge Robinson, I know a little bit about you. I know you were appointed to office in 2012, and seems like you've been around a long time. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from? I don't know if you're from Nashville or not, and just your journey to becoming the 3rd Circuit judge.
Well, first of all, most of my family is from Old Hickory, Tennessee.
Okay.
But I grew up here in Nashville, went to high school here, went to University of Tennessee for undergraduate law school.
Go Vols.
And then came back here and started trying to practice law. And I originally had asked the Metro Legal Department for a position, and Mr. Milton Sitton was kind enough to offer me a position, and it paid $11,800 a year. Oh. And I was delighted, thinking I was in the big money then, but this was in 1975. But my cousin Muriel Robinson, who was a practicing attorney at that time in Mr. Jack Norman Sr.'s office, told me to tell Mr. Sitton, I appreciate it, but I need to come practice law with her. Because she said, in the long run, you're always better off for your own boss. And so I thought it was a terrible idea at the time because I wanted to make money.
Okay.
But I found out that in the long run, she was exactly correct. And as far as generating income, after you've been out for a little while on your own, you're kind of the master of your own fate. If you do a good job and you're good with your clients, you can build your
clientele. Okay.
Build your clientele. And I practiced law, originally everything, criminal law, personal injury, probate law, and family law. But I slowly kind of got pegged as a domestic relations attorney. And so I practiced family law for about 37 years. And then Attorney Philip Smith and Teresa Oglesby and myself started our own offices. And then when Muriel was ready to retire, she called me and said, do you have any interest in running for this? And I talked to my wife about it, thought about it, decided I wouldn't do it, and told my associate Philip Smith. And he turned to me and said, would you mind if I try? And the next thing I know, he's running for 4th Circuit judge. He got appointed, and so he became 4th Circuit judge.
So he took that opportunity, huh?
And he did, and then a couple of years later, he called me and said, Barbara Haynes is retiring, and they're going to make a family law court out of that. Would you be interested? And I said, well, yeah, I think I would. And so after that, I ran real hard for it and came out of committee and got appointed by Governor Haslam. Even though I was a Democrat, Governor Haslam was nice enough to give me a shot at it. And the unfortunate thing is I was having to run for office for the next election at the same time I was trying to get Judge Haslam to appoint me. He appointed me on around February the 28th, and my primary was March the 7th. So I only had a week between the time he appointed me, so I had to run for it. But fortunately for me, the voters were kind enough to elect me, and so I've run for election, I guess, one other time since then. I had actually 2 times since then. So right now I'm in my second 8-year term.
And now that's the clarification as well, because the judges here in Davidson County, they're on 8-year terms. The clerks are on 4-year terms, but the judges are on 8-year terms. And then I do have a little tidbit. I don't know if you know this or not, but when I first met you, it was a long time ago. You probably don't remember me, but I signed your petition to, I was a Davidson County resident, had a petition. It's like, hey, this person's running for judge. I was like, Robinson, who is this guy? Looked at it, I signed it. So
What
Didn't
a
really
great
know
guy.
you that.
What good
Oh, hey,
taste.
I tell you. And so that was years ago. You know, I was in another department then, but I remember doing that and signing that. And, you know,
Well, you helped
got
me, and
it.
I
You
appreciate
got
it.
it.
You
Well,
never forget the people that are nice
hey, I
to
tell you,
you.
it's one of those things in life we never know. Somebody's always, you know, helping you out or rooting
That's
for you
very
that you
true.
don't even see, you know.
That's true.
So, but yeah, so, all right, that's a good story. So now we'll swing over here to Judge Williams in our Fourth Circuit. So I know a little bit about you as well. I know you started at Manson, Jones and Associates, but my knowing you didn't come about until you were special master. Was that like 2014 or something?
That's right. I started in 2014 as a special master.
Of Judge Smith. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got started, and about your journey to becoming Fourth Circuit Judge.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky,
Okay.
but I do call Nashville home. I've lived here since high school, which was 30 plus years ago. And so I went to McGavock High School, although I ended up graduating from Germantown High School in Memphis because I had a little one-year stint there.
Okay.
But McGavock Raiders, that's me. And I came back to Nashville and went to Fisk University.
Okay.
And, experienced some life-changing moments wherein I needed to step away from my education to be a single mom, basically.
Okay.
So I did that. And in the process of doing that, I found Richard Manson's law office and I was working for him. Actually, he had an entertainment firm. So I worked in the entertainment aspect of things. And one day out of the blue, he was just kind of like, you should go to law school. And I'm like, that sounds really cute, but I don't have my bachelor's degree. And then you go to law school. How does this really work? He's like, it doesn't matter. Get a degree in home economics, but you go to law school. And so this was the late 90s. So it wasn't where you could just Google, like, where can I go to school? How can I do this?
Yes.
But some kind of way I ran across Trevecca, who had a program that was tailored towards working adults. So I could go to school at night, one night a week, one class at a time, and work during the day, which was perfect for my situation as a single mother who needed to work. And I did that, and within 18 months, I finished my undergrad. And within 2 months of that, I was sitting in a classroom at the University of Tennessee.
Oh, so you went to Tennessee as well. Okay.
I did.
Go Vols. All right.
And so because I had young children at this point, 2 children, my support system was in Nashville. So it was important to me not to disrupt them. So I chose to commute from Nashville to Knoxville to get my law degree. After that, I came back, I graduated. I had a job in Richard Manson's office as a lawyer. So that was I knew all I had to do was graduate from law school. So I just got through it, right? And I came back, and that's kind of when I started getting my life a little bit more in order. Okay. And it ended up in my own family law case in juvenile court, which is what really led me to love and appreciate family law. And that experience showed me that people need the family law court system, but so many don't have the resources to spend tens of thousands of dollars for representation. And so I started my practice by representing individuals at reduced rates through grant funding that I got. And that really is how I built my family law practice.
That's awesome.
And eventually how I met Judge Robinson and Judge Smith. And I never connected the dots until today, but had you not turned down that first opportunity to run, Judge Smith may have never been judge of the Fourth Circuit Court, which means I may have never had the opportunity to serve under him as special master. Wow. So thank you, Judge Robinson.
Hey. Always happy to help.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? So I built a wonderful practice and served many families in Davidson County, and eventually was able to take my work for families in Davidson County to the courthouse and in the courthouse. And so I was able to work for Judge Phillip Smith. He hired me as his special master in January of 2014. And I always explain that role. I kind of call it like a little judge under the big judge.
That's what I was going to ask you about special master for our audience there and just our citizens that, they know much about the court system. You say special master. What is a special master?
What is that person?
So what is that? What does that role do?
Well, it is a judicial function. Special masters are appointed by the elected sitting judge.
So you have to be an attorney, though, right?
You do have to be an attorney, yes. Okay. And special masters really kind of support that sitting judge. And so In my role, I helped to manage our caseload by working to do what we call judicial settlement conferences to try to settle cases before they went to Judge Smith.
Okay.
So that helped his calendar management. I assisted the office in just, managerial kind of things. I also worked with our self-represented litigants a lot. I kind of took over how we or built that model that we used in the Fourth Circuit Court at that time. I processed with Judge Smith about legal issues. We discussed, different cases and things of that nature, and just supported him. I would hear order of protection cases. And so it was really just a support to him, but I could operate in some judicial functions to help with caseloads. And so I had the honor to do that. Judge Smith really, I think, had planted the seed for me early on that I would be his successor. He really took an interest and an opportunity to invest in me. And from the very first day I began in that office, he was connecting me with the right people, making sure I was showing up at the right places and being a part of organizations so that I would have a base to run one day.
And so that's what you're saying, like it was basically a junior judge, like you're actually getting to do some of those functions, you're seeing everything.
And you see it, and you get to work, you're mentored under the judge, which is
that's awesome.
Fabulous.
Yes.
And so Judge Smith passed unexpectedly in 2022, right at the beginning of his new 8-year term. So if the term started September 1st, I think he passed on maybe the 2nd or 3rd.
Just a few days.
Because
later.
I won my office and I had just taken office. I think I was out of town or something, and I heard it and I was like, what? And it just threw me. So I was very fond of Judge Smith.
Absolutely.
And,
wonderful man.
Yes. And so, that was there. And so you continue on.
So he did. He passed. And that was a shocker, obviously a difficult time. But eventually the question became who was going to be his successor. And there's a 2-part process to that. One is the governor will appoint somebody until there can be an election. And so I went through the process of being appointed to applying for the appointment, and someone else was selected for that. And that's kind of when my moment of truth came. It was like, if this is what I'm going to do, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And so I made a very difficult decision to walk away from my job as special master and to run. And so for over a year, I ran a contested race for this seat and worked really hard, and am really still to this day very humbled by the Davidson County voters and the support that I got in winning this election I won my primary in March of 2024, and then the general election, which was uncontested or unopposed, where I was unopposed in August of 2024.
And you took office September.
I started my term September 1st, 2024, and I love my job. Every day I come to work, I love it.
Awesome.
I bet every one of us sitting here will tell the people watching, you don't have any idea what it's like to run for office until you do it.
Yes.
And it's not what you think. It's more and bigger and tougher. But at the same time, if good people don't come forward and offer themselves, we don't have good leaders. So
That's
it's a pretty
exactly
important thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and as difficult as it was, I think it was a necessary step in my journey. I can say that now that I'm over the hump, but
well, I can remember seeing you, and you was like, "Well, I'm late." I was like, "Well, you it's like, well, okay, just, see you soon," and you did it. So congratulations.
Yeah.
So excited to work with you. I know you have some exciting things that you want to do for the Fourth Circuit. That's one of the things when you come into office. Things that you want to bring that you have the capability to. How can I improve, or how can I do better? And that's one of the things that when I took office, I always said that we were best office in the state already, right? But I always say good is the enemy of great. Mm-hmm. We become complacent. How can we go from good to great? When you're so good at something, you don't have to put forth that effort, but I didn't want to just kind of settle in and just say, well, we're going to do this. And so that's kind of the story that I wanted to do, of some vision that I had based off my experiences, just kind of yours, and how you made your journey. Everybody has a journey, right? Mm-hmm. And so this resource center, like I said, I wanted to provide something for the citizens of Nashville and Davidson County. I'm not an attorney by any means, but I stay in my clerk lane, but it's all about service. And I want to provide exceptional service the best I could do. And so just thinking about your two offices dealing with domestic matters, can y'all explain to the people what are considered domestic matters? What is your caseloads? What are we talking about? I know we're doing divorces. What else do we have there?
We have divorces. We also are the appellate court for certain juvenile matters, like dependent and neglect matters come up, are appealed from juvenile court up to our courts. And because Judge Williams and our courts are courts of record, which means that when we make a ruling, your appeal is to the Tennessee Court of Civil Appeals, where they will review what we did to determine if we correctly interpreted the facts and the law. General Sessions, when they make rulings, they are not courts of record. So when you appeal those cases, you get a de novo hearing, and circuit courts like Judge Williams and myself, we are the appellate court for juvenile and certain general sessions matters. And those are generally in the area of orders of protection that are kind of in our area. But our other circuit judges hear their detainer warrants, here they're in criminal court, their small criminal matters that they deal. They get de novo hearings, meaning they start all over again, and you get to try the case again.
Yeah. Okay. So what are like adoptions as well, right?
Yes, Fourth Circuit Court is the only court in Davidson County that's designated to hear adoptions. So we get to have a fun day, a few days a week, where we get to solidify families and provide permanency for children. We also deal with domestic violence and orders of protection. Both Third and Fourth Circuit Court do that. And termination proceedings come through Fourth Circuit Court.
We also do parentage matters. Plus, you need to remember that when you sign a final decree of divorce, it's not necessarily the end, because if there are children, those are always coming back where you have to review child support, where you have to review custody, where parents try to change custody. And some of the cases that don't have children, you may have spousal support issues that have to come back. Alimony has to be reviewed occasionally, or increased or decreased. So all of those old cases are never over so long as there's some action in them. So that's why we'll have a certain number of divorces filed every year, but we may try a lot of other cases in addition to that from the old cases coming back. So, and you know that because y'all handle every bit of the paperwork.
That you do.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's one of the things about service and innovation that, like I said, those are the four pillars when I became circuit court clerk. I wanted to make these pillars because that's what I ran my election on. These are what we're going to stand on. And those became my four pillars. It's on the bottom of every letter that we send out. And it's one of the things that we try to practice there. So what are some of the things that you're doing in your offices, in your courts? They're circuits, right? But that's your Fourth Circuit. Like, you are the Fourth Circuit, you are the Third Circuit. Like, what are some of the innovative things that you would like the citizens of Nashville and Davidson County to know? I know just one, I'll just throw this one out there, that, during COVID, we started doing these virtual hearings. I know you were at the forefront during that time, even as special master, like, hey, can we do sometime? Can y'all post this on the website? I remember you coming to the forefront of that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
What you have going on?
You're exactly right. Through COVID, we started dealing with virtual dockets, and how do we communicate that to people? How do we set the Zooms up? How do we schedule hearings? And so I was able to help facilitate that. As the judge now, one of the things I ran off of was being more relational versus transactional, right? So, making sure that people feel like that this is a court where we care, where we want to do more than just hear your case, hit the gavel and you go.
Next.
And so I think we've done a fabulous job at accomplishing that. And one thing that we have is a newsletter that goes out. And our newsletter, we always have a lead story depending on what might be relevant at that time. The next one comes out, it'll deal with Mother's Day. But we keep our attorneys informed and litigants informed about what's going on in our court, available court dates, updates on different case law matters. We put together a pretty comprehensive chamber rules book that's really kind of a guide to practicing in Fourth Circuit Court, to be able to be more helpful and user-friendly to people. so that they knew what we expected of them, and they didn't have to guess at it, or they didn't have to figure it out when we got to court when they said no. We created a more comprehensive website. So instead of just a web page with a bio on there, we actually have different tabs that will provide resources. It will provide the ability to schedule your cases online. It gives you an online calendar so you can kind of see when we're available, and all our newsletters are posted on there, updates and announcements. We've got social media sites so we can post things on there. When the courthouse is closed because of inclement weather, we can put it out there so people are not trying to figure out, like, do I go to court today? Do I not?
And so that issue right there, you feel my pain, because I told you I work with 19 judges. And so I have my circuit, my state trial court coordinator, I have my general session. It's like, hey, what's going on? Are we closing? Are we open? And then everybody, you're your own court. And so it's like, well, we're doing this. Yeah. Well, what are you doing? And my thing is I always want to be service. I want to be innovative, but I want to provide. If you come down here, I want to be able to serve you. I want somebody coming down here, the building's closed, but you're here. So we're trying to encompass all of that and make an informed decision, but kind of be on it as well. So that's one of the things that a lot of things people's like, well, how do you like your job? Well, my job is a little different because I'm a hands-on person. I love my job, but it's different in this role. You gotta have good people, and I'm sure you know that as well. Because I'm sure your staff that you have, and
we have Fourth Circuit has the best staff.
Yeah.
Sorry, Judge Robinson.
Well, that's your claim. I feel like we have the best clerks. So, but I enjoy working with all of us. But it's just one of those things that you take the passion in what you do. And so as far as your chamber rules, I guess it's different for each of you. Like, what are your expectations coming to your court? Anything that you want the people to know as far as that? And I know when we're doing this video, we're going to link, to some of your pages and to our website to where they can follow up on Third and Fourth Circuit and what that entails. So is there anything else that you want the citizens of Nashville and Davidson County to know about Third and Fourth Circuit and domestic? And I know one thing that I talk about as our resource center, why I want to provide this space here, my office is right across the hall, and you will hear them out on the bench, whether it's an agreed divorce or whatnot. Sometimes it's happy. Like they say, hey, let's sign these papers. What do we need to do? The ALC has the forms, but they can come fill it out and come forth and do that type of thing. And then you have it to where it's not so, I don't even know the word for it. So pleasant, but you will hear them screaming at each other outside. And then it comes over in here and it's like, oh, and obscenities are shouting before. So I wanted kind of a private space. We have places out in the hall where they can have some privacies because they'll be in here. What's your social? And they're putting stuff like that type of information. So I wanted to make a welcoming space. So that's something as far as what you do in handling those sensitive matters. I just want to applaud both of you for that and the passion that you have for your job. A lot of people may think, well, a judge, where they just going to do this and do that. But I mean, your journeys to where you are, you have to have compassion, right?
Absolutely.
To do your job. And then you want to do what's best. And so I just want to commend you on that.
You're right. We have to have compassion, but at the same time, certain things have to get done.
Yes.
Children, we have to determine which parent is going to be the primary parent for children. We have to make certain the child support is going to be set properly in compliance with the guidelines and then is paid. And one thing I know that Judge Williams is passionate about, and I think our court is also, the only thing worse than living in a bad marriage is living in an endless divorce that just goes on and on and on. So I think both courts are committed to try to move these cases along. She and I both start pretty close to exactly straight up at 9 every morning to try to get folks in there, let them get their cases heard, and try to get them room on the docket so that their case can get heard. If you check with some of the other jurisdictions around us, you'll find that some people have year-long waits to get to their divorce trial. In fact, we even have some people trying to come down here and file because our courts, we like to think, are a little more efficient, and you can generally get a trial date within a reasonable period of time. And that's something important to me, that people get their cases heard so they can move on with their life, because when you're stuck in the middle of a divorce, you're just in this purgatory and you can't seem to do anything to change it. You're at the mercy of your lawyers and the courts. So if we from our side don't push, the cases get delayed. So I know both courts are doing everything they can to get people in and get their cases tried. Sometimes you just can't settle, and somebody has to make a hard decision, and that's what we do.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you for coming on Conversations with the Clerk. Like I said, this series here is just to inform the community about, our elected officials and what we do to serve them. Because that's what's at the heart of what we do. And I want to appreciate both of you. And thanks again. I want to ask you to stay tuned to our next episode of Conversations with the Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.